Bonterville is a coloured community south of Cape Town, between Cape Town and the airport, and it's quite a poor area. It's known for its gangsterism and drug dealing, and dangerous place to be, especially if you have perceived wealth. And and all of a sudden, Clap to Me landed us there. We've been in Tallulah for about a minute now, and a guy comes over, who I later found out is called Andre, and he asked us, "What's the problem? What's the problem?" And I said, "We've run out of petrol." And he said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll go get you petrol." And obviously, at this point, I couldn't wait to find out and trust whether he was actually going to come back with the petrol or not. So I decided I need to go with him. So within 10 seconds, he was shot off. He was running down the road, jumped under a fence, like jumped on the floor under a fence, went back to his house and got some canisters for us to go over to the petrol station, which was on the other side of the bridge in another town. And this guy's name is Andre. I got to know him, we started talking. A really interesting life story. He's 30 years old now. Up until he was 25, he was still in the gang culture, and then met his wife, and then, as in his words, she was a lady and needed to be treated like a lady by a gentleman, so he had to leave that life because she wouldn't have been with him if he was. He had a real lightness about his face and just kept talking about how he loved to help people. Anyway, we went over the other side of the bridge and we went to the petrol station and went past a number of young men, which didn't offer me any of the niceties or smiles that I've experienced in any of the other poor areas that I've been. But neither did they have contempt. Rather, it was them assessing the opportunity for the financial transaction that might take place. That maybe they perceived I offered them money or phone or whatever that I had in my pocket. And we went to the petrol station, and I said to Andre, I don't think it's safe for us to go back there. I think they will be quite keen to see me again. So we went back the other way. And as we went back over the motorway bridge, which was a risk for him to actually be there on that side of the motorway because it's a different town, and in this gang culture it's quite territorial, I understand. And as we went back over, three guys followed us, and I think they made a sign to me, something like this, which I didn't know what it meant, but I assumed it wasn't good, and I asked Andre, what does that gesture mean? And he said, it's not good. So we carried on walking, and they were walking on the motorway floor, and we were on the bridge, and they met us on the other side. And at that time, the other guys in the van had got out and were sort of chatting to the local girls and kids and friendly people and stuff. But I was aware that the atmosphere might be likely to change the longer that we stayed there. So me and Andre were frantically trying to put the petrol in the tank, and I was quietly and in a relaxed way asking the guys to get back in the van. And Joe, who was running the trip, was sat on the edge of Tallulah where the sliding door was, talking to a guy, and all of a sudden the guy asked him, what do you have for me? And Joe said something along the lines of, no, we're just leaving, we're going now to the airport or whatever. And the guy then actually pulled out a gun, still very conversationally, nothing stressed at this point, pulled out a gun and said to Joe something like, give me your mobile. And Joe said, no, actually, my mobile is too important to me. And he said, what else do you have then? And I couldn't see at this stage. I just knew something was going on, but I was too busy trying to put the petrol in, and I didn't want to alert anybody or raise any tension levels. And so Joe just talked with him and sort of ended up giving him 100 rand, which is about £9. And at that time, I tried to start the van. It didn't quite turn on, but then thankfully it turned on again the second time. And all the while, I could hear in Afrikaans Andre talking. I didn't know what he was saying, but I could tell that he was telling the guys, chill out, calm down, these guys will be gone in a minute, they're good people, that kind of vibe. And people were getting more and more agitated, and there was about 7 or 8 guys around the van at this stage, kind of closing in. And the thing that was really interesting was the guy that sort of held the gun to Joe, he wasn't an evil guy, he wasn't hell-bent on destruction, he was just desperate and hungry. And, can I tell whether it was for drugs or not, or whether it was genuinely just hungry because he needed food? I don't know, but it's hard to disassociate everything and break it down, because I don't claim to understand all the problems in Cape Town. It's such a complicated place. But all I know is he seemed to be a really good guy, and he was normal guy, and you can't alienate him. He was just desperate, and when you've got 1 or 2 minutes to try and convince someone to share what they've got with you, it's a lot quicker to do it with a gun than it is by just powers of persuasion or charm. And so that was really interesting, and Joe did really well just to relax, sort of talk it through, and not to alert anybody else's attention. And in the end, we managed to shoot off, and just below this video, you'll see a picture of the cloud that I saw just afterwards. And it was just absolutely amazing. The silver lining on the cloud, it's slightly cliche, but I absolutely was just blown away by it with the mountain in the background. And it was just such a, I don't know, an example or a metaphor for what we had just experienced. And Andre the Angel was just an absolute hero. I think that if we were to have stayed in that position for maybe 3 more minutes, the atmosphere could have snapped, and could have heightened tension, and we might have actually had some issues. But for me, it's a really redeeming story to say that even in those tough scenarios and tough communities where Andre could have, and arguably should have, in terms of looking after his family, taken advantage of us, he chose to partner with us and care for us, take risks for his own life, and also vouch for us on behalf of us, with his comrades, guys that he knows from his town. And I was absolutely blown away by it, and feel so blessed to have met him that day, and that we got away safe and the guys got home. And also feel very responsible to tell the story in the full way, not to Hollywoodize it or glamorize it of gangs and getaways and guns, but more to tell the full story of the desperation of people in these communities, but also the goodwill that we've received, and I hope that in some way I can repay that.